We had a great time in Lowell appearing on Chamber Chat, the Inside Lowell podcast with Danielle McFadden for all things business. I wanted to make sure everyone got the chance to hear it, and she was gracious enough to send us a copy for our use. We had a great discussion before, during, and after the podcast with Danielle, and we touched on, I think, every aspect of our business. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to Chamber Chat. I'm Danielle McFadden, president of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and we're here in the beautiful WellPoint Studios here at Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. TMI Properties, from affordable to luxurious, apartments for all. Boston North Company, business solutions for restaurant and retail. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection since 1925. Francis E. Provencher Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell Trusts. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing the action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. Now time to introduce my guest. I'm so excited to have Chris DiBella here from DiBella Law. How are you?
I'm doing great, Danielle. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here. We were talking off air. I could have talked to you all day. But let's bring some of this great conversation online.
Absolutely.
So you are in personal injury. Can you talk about what sets you apart from your field? And I'd like to know your story of why you got into this, because I did a little bit of research before you coming on.
All right. Yeah. No, I appreciate you having us, first of all.
Yeah.
And, I've been in practice almost 20 years. So I've covered a lot of practice areas, and we've really niched down to what we feel like we do the best, and that's personal injury. It really covers everything with wheels, trucks, cars, motorcycles, bicycles. We also do dog bites and premise liability. But to get to your earlier question about why I got into it, when I was a kid, my brother got into a serious car accident, and I was about 12 years old. It was actually on my birthday, and we got the phone call nobody wanted to get. I distinctly remember it even to this day. I remember what the kitchen looked like in a very old house of mine that I grew up with. I answered the phone and said that my brother had been in a serious accident. So my father jumped in the car, went right down to the scene, and it really just stuck with me because I remember what my family went through. We were very blue collar. It was, struggle with the bills that racked up, and seeing my brother in the hospital and watching his recovery. So I had a real deep sense of what my clients were going through. So I really wanted to perfect that and really make the most stressful time in their life be as seamless and easy as possible from our end. So the staff really tries to take it from that approach, a real empathetic approach, where we can really simplify that area of the practice for them.
That's huge. I mean, you bring that sense of empathy that not everybody else can bring because you've been through it and it's stuck with you, like you said.
Well, the other thing is I'm grateful, because we have such a great team, is our team. I think, it probably comes across in the hiring that that's what we care about. But I get so many compliments from the staff and how empathetic they are on the phone. And we make a point where so many people are like, just close the deal and get off the phone. I say, listen, you take as long as you need on the phones. And I literally will get, people sending cards and letters and like, oh my God, I love Stacy. I love Tina.
Oh, that's the best.
But they'll spend an hour on the phone.
Right.
Because they really empathize with what people are going through. And that's really what they love, and it comes through. So it's really something we try and do for them.
There's not enough of that in general in the world, right? You call somebody like, hey, what do you want? Like, it's just right. So to have somebody that's gonna talk to you and be kind, it makes such a big difference.
It really does, because our catchphrase is every case is personal, and we really try and take that on from the very first call. So we send clients like a gift box, and it will have a book that I wrote that kind of outlines the whole process for them. So it demystifies what they're going to experience. It has a journal for them to, journal their progress and their treatment. And then, Stacy will be listening on the phone and realize that they have a dog or they're a pet lover, and she'll sneak like a pack of treats in. Or everyone's always listening to try and ramp up what goes in that box to make that personal approach with the clients, which is nice.
That's really great. And you kind of take that approach to being involved in the community as well.
We do. Yeah, the staff loves all the community stuff that we do, and I let them pick a lot of what we do, but we do an annual scholarship. So anyone that's listening, we have a $1,000 scholarship that's coming up for college students, and I have 3 kids, one that's already in college. So I know how expensive this stuff
Yeah.
is. So anybody that's looking for some help, jump on our website, DiBellaLawOffice.com. It should have it under the resources tab, I believe.
Great.
But we do, during the pandemic, we did diaper drives, we did formula drives because they were in such short supply. We do good deeds campaigns where people can, they can suggest something that's somebody that's in need, somebody that's struggling with a heating bill or groceries. And so we really try and stay very involved in the community just because it's what the staff really enjoys doing by the most of what we all do.
And that's great that they get to help kind of navigate and select kind of the projects and
something
things
close
that
to
you're
home
going
for
to be involved in.
everybody.
Yeah, that's really nice. What are some of the most common cases that you handle when it comes to personal injury and the relevance that ties into local business?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. We do a lot with local businesses from, helping buy their buildings to negotiating contracts. And from the personal injury side, a lot of what we do with premises liability, where people are slipping and falling or there's something defective on someone's property, we help to educate business owners. So when someone's coming in, we want to make sure that are you in the right corporate structure? Are you properly insured so that you're protected if someone does have an accident? And are you taking the right steps to mitigate? Maintenance logs are hugely important. So we always say in my office, what you don't measure doesn't improve. So, if they're measuring, the egress and ingress into the property and the stairs and the railings and making sure there's no safety hazards on a weekly basis, then they're going to lessen or mitigate any risk that happens. So we try to go over with them, different risk factors and making sure that they control those.
Yeah, and doing that on a weekly basis, it mustn't take that long, right? Especially once you get in the habit of doing it.
You make a checklist and you say, hey, somebody goes out and checks these 10 places. It makes a big difference.
So if somebody's listening or watching and they are a local business and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never even thought about doing anything like that, can they call you and set up a meeting just to kind of talk about that?
Absolutely. And we can give them sample logs and things that would be helpful checklists for them to go over.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Maybe we should do a seminar sometime. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, love to.
That'd be great.
Love to.
How has technology changed the landscape of Lauren?
We talk about that. We might even been talking about this before we went on air, and it changes everything. We have, since the pandemic especially, I feel like it accelerated everything that was happening, but we have so many more appointments over Zoom. We do court over Zoom, not all the time, but sometimes. We do scheduling online, so you don't just have to call the office. You can do Calendly and schedule.
Which is nice, too, because if someone thinks about it and it's 11 o'clock at night, when we have, you can just...
When is someone free?
Yeah.
We have 24-hour chat. We have 24-hour call center. We utilize AI a ton to simplify the workflow in our office. And we also have a smartphone app. So you can go on, and it is, I'm not just putting it out there, but it is fantastic.
You look pretty pumped about it.
It's like literally, if you get into an accident, it'll show you to the nearest garage, to the hospitals, to Uber. From where you are, it'll find safety for the local police departments.
Wow.
And it'll also allow you to take pictures, track your progress in terms of how your treatment's going. You can take pictures and videos of the scene.
It's incredible.
And you can, convey that back and forth to our office so that we can see that in real time, which is great.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's different too. I mean, we talked about what sets you apart, but I feel like some of these things as well.
Yeah. We've tried to, you and I both have young kids, and they're so far advanced on the technology. And I feel like if we're not staying up with it, we're falling behind with the next generations that they use it almost exclusively.
Absolutely.
So we really try and embrace technology.
So what about somebody who has not embraced technology? And
that's a good question.
Will you still meet with them in person? You're not going to say, we have to meet over Zoom.
Yeah. No, my parents are a great example, right? And, they would never go over Zoom or anything like that. So we have 4 offices located throughout the state. So we have a lot of convenient locations for people.
Yeah.
We're in Burlington, Andover, Methuen, and Boston. So anybody that wants to meet at any one of those offices just needs to make an appointment. We usually get them in right away.
What's the first thing someone should do if they're injured? Is it call your office?
Well, first,
ideally,
they want to make sure they're okay. That seems simple, but I've been in a couple accidents myself, and when I was in an accident, I remember I had my 2 boys in the car, and I looked to see how they were doing, and my son next to me started crying because my face was gushing blood. So I hit the steering wheel.
gosh.
I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
So, the first thing you want to do is obviously make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you want to do is just make sure you document the scene, take any pictures or videos that you can, talk to any witnesses that might be there. The more that you can document, it's great. I have a ton of cases, and what we see is people are often very trusting. You get into a car accident, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I was at fault. Anything I can do, want to help you. And then you find out after you report it to your insurance company, they're telling a very different story.
Absolutely.
You're like, no, he was on his phone, or he wasn't paying attention, or he jutted out of nowhere. So the more objective evidence that you have is better. So the more you can document, and a lot of that stuff disappears very quickly. Although, we've had a great deal of success with a lot of people have Ring cameras. I don't know if you have one.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of your business owners in town likely have Ring cameras at their establishment. I have one on my house. And we've had instances where they've been hit and runs. And we've been able to track through people's houses, knocking on doors, where that person went. And get a better view of their license plate in one of those Ring cameras. So just documenting the scene as much as possible. It's important. And then calling an attorney right away.
Mm-hmm. Calling you.
Yeah.
He's being modest, but we know who we're going to call. What is the timeline for a case like this?
That's a question I get all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it could be a matter of months. It could be a matter of years. And the biggest driving force behind that is how long does it take you to get better? Because what you don't want to do is settle a case, say, at 3-4 months when you have another 6 months of treatment. Because now you're leaving money on the table. You don't know the full extent of your injuries, how well you healed, the full extent of your medical exposure with the medical bills. So really, the question is how long from the time you're done treating. We do have a 3-year statute of limitations for most, not all, personal injury cases in Mass.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of time. And you want to make sure that you're putting in the most comprehensive case that's going to accurately reflect all of your injuries and damages.
Yep.
So some cases, you might have a dog bite that it takes a couple months for the wound to heal, and it can go very quickly. Some, people are in hospitals and rehabs for months and months and months. And the biggest thing is just documenting what you're going through. We tell people the biggest thing is that you forget. When you go back 6 months and you say, what was it like? You remember the high level stuff, but you don't remember the sleepless nights.
Yeah.
You don't remember when you relied on mom or dad or a neighbor or a spouse to help you shower or to care for the kids. So we give everyone a journal, and you can also do it on the iPhone app to just in real time. And for the people that don't utilize those things, they call us once a week and just say, hey, how was this week? And we make notes about it.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So those are things that are important for people to do, because some cases do take a long time.
I'm sure there's people that look forward to that weekly call too.
You
talk to your wonderful staff.
they do. And some of our staff, are they love being on the phone.
Yeah.
We have some great clients, and I can think of a few I just had a phone call with this week, and if they're watching, they'll know who they are. And you enjoy talking to people that you work with and care about.
Yeah, and you're helping.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Right.
How do you value a personal injury? You determine that?
Yeah. Well, that's another one can be a bit more complicated, but everybody wants to know up front, how much is my case worth?
Right. Yeah.
And you don't always know, right? Because you don't know if you're going to treat for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. You don't know what your scarring is going to look like, because what the scarring looks like on the date of the accident is going to be very different from 12 months. And you want to see, doesn't mean that there's not value in both of those, but the permanency piece is going to be much different. After 12 months, this is what I'm living with.
Yes.
Or if you have a lack of range of motion in a body part that you broke an arm or, a finger, and, ankle. So a lot of those things take time, but your basic elements are going to be your medical bills, your lost wages, pain and suffering, emotional distress, your quality of life changes, have you been grossly reliant on family members or other people? And then the one that people don't think about enough is how the liability plays into it. So in Massachusetts, we're what's called a modified comparative negligence state. So if you get into an accident, it's okay for you to be at fault as well, as long as you're not more at fault than the other party. So let's say it's a $100,000 case, and I'll make it simple because math, I went to school for law.
We made a joke. I said, now with AI, we can't add. Now we're not going to be able to write. So, yeah.
But if $100,000 case, and let's say the jury or the insurance deems me to be 30% at fault, that's going to come out of the value of the case. Doesn't mean you don't have a case, but that $100,000 case is now a $70,000 case. So they reduce the value of the case based on my contribution of negligence. Now, if you get rear-ended and it's clear, or there's a dog bite and it's clear because of mass where strict liability, then there's 100%. But there's a lot of factors that have to be taken into account before you can really make that. And a little bit further as we get along, we'll talk to the client about ranges and ideas, and sometimes you have to put things in suit to get that full litigation. To get that full value of the case.
So I think it all comes down right to the documentation, right, and getting as much information as you can. Yeah,
that's right.
All right. So what should someone do if they're contacted by the other party's insurance company after an accident?
That's a really good one. And so oftentimes what you'll see in an accident is these insurance companies for the other side will want to jump out and get a hold of somebody before they get an attorney, because they want to nail them down to a recorded statement.
Yeah.
Because, like I tell anybody, if you tell the same story over a year and a half, 4 different times, something's going to differ. You could say it was partly cloudy, then it was, drizzling, then it was a sunny day, and it could be insignificant to the case.
Yes.
But if there's enough things like that, they're going to try and paint you as somebody that's being inconsistent and not truthful. So we don't like to have any of our clients give a recorded statement with an insurance company. We want to be there. We want to be part of it. And if there is going to be a recorded statement, that's going to be a deposition as part of litigation. So we tell people, you're not contractually bound to give the other side a statement. Your insurance company is different. But we would say, hold off. Let's make sure that we're the mouthpiece, because what we say about the case can't be used against them. What they say can. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're controlling the narrative and making sure that we're in charge of what's coming out.
What about with their insurance agent?
So with their insurance agent, they don't often reach out to the same for a liability perspective, but we do. We just recently did. And we just want to make sure that we're going over with the client the high points, and we're preparing them for what they're going to experience. Because, on a much more escalated scale, I can tell you, people that go to trial for the first time, they may know it inside and out. I've had clients say things for the first time. Now, I've been with them for 3 years, and they say it out of sheer panic. They say it because they want the questioning to end and they want to move on. Yeah. And there's a lot of nerves that go into it, and they just say things that the other person wants to hear to move on. And so that's where really good preparation comes in. So we do the same thing at the earliest stages.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, goodness. I'm just picturing that happening. You'd be like, what the heck? I've never heard that in my life. If someone's partially at fault for their own injury, can they still seek compensation?
Yeah. So just to touch back on what we talked about a little bit earlier. So you can.
Yeah.
So you definitely can, so if someone's at fault, let's say the other person, I may be speeding, but you crossed the double yellow line, came in my lane, and they're more at fault. You definitely still can recover. It's just going to reduce the amount of your value, but it's still worth pursuing. And if you don't know, because, a lot of times these police reports have codes in terms of who's at fault, which, myself and the staff can, translate for you. Yeah. But I would definitely make sure anyone talks to an attorney and make sure that they fully understand, because just because you may have played a potential role in it, you still can recover.
Okay, great. We kind of talked about this. How does your firm handle communication with clients throughout the case? We've kind of woven that into the whole conversation.
Yep. One of the big things that I will say that we've woven in a lot more in the last couple of years are text messages. So I feel
that's the best. You can just read it, respond.
Well, I feel like
convenient.
Everybody texts much more than I feel like emails very used, to use a lot more for business communication. But a lot of people don't check their email. Unfortunately, it's like a third on for me, my phone, and I'm always responding. But a lot of people aren't the same way, but they are with text.
Absolutely.
And we found that the response rate's a lot better with text. So we've tried to incorporate that into all of our regular communication. But we'll poll the client at intake. How do they prefer to communicate? Email, text. Some people just like phone calls. Yeah. With Zoom, in person. So
come to my house over tea. No, I'm kidding.
But we try and integrate whatever they prefer.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like with text too, you're more likely to respond right away versus there'll be times if you read an email and you just get sidetracked.
Exactly.
Text, it's just.
And a lot of times people to that point, they're like, yep, I got to go back to that. And then they forget.
Yes.
Where text, I think, is a little bit more top of mind.
It's great. You really cater to your clients.
We try.
And
We
you're
try and
like
make.
cutting edge on what you do.
I mean, the client experience is literally at the forefront of
Yeah.
every part of the process that we do.
Yeah, you can tell. It's great.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to cover today? I'm already planning our next podcast, by the way.
I'd love to, and you got to come in.
I would
to
love
our
to do
office
that.
for one. No, I mean, just anybody knows that if they ever have any questions, we're always available. There's no cost. One of the misconceptions that people have is, and it holds them back from initiating a lawsuit or starting, is that they don't understand that with us and with a lot of attorneys in the personal injury realm, it's a little bit different than other areas. So they're not paying anything out of pocket. So if you do feel like you have a claim, it costs you nothing to find out. All consultations with us are free.
Yeah.
And if we'll let you know if you have a case. And even if we sign you up, and I don't want to say we're very rarely wrong, but we don't usually take cases that don't have value and don't have somebody else at fault. But we don't get paid unless we get you money. And we only get paid out of what money we get for you. So no money's ever coming out of the person's pocket. It's an important thing for people to know.
If somebody's on the fence, they're thinking they might want to contact you, they're not sure. If they come to you, they contact you, can they still say, okay, forget it, I don't want to go forward?
They can say that at any
Yeah.
So we even have cases that we've signed up and it's still their case.
Yeah.
So which is a big part of why we want to make sure the client experience is great from start to finish, because you can leave another law firm. We get so many clients that are with other law firms that they're not getting calls back. They're not simple things, right? The number one complaint that you hear from other lawyers that they're not answering my calls. And I had a guy that only had a couple months to live, and this law firm was not calling him back, and he wanted me to take the case. And I said, listen, there's not enough time for me to do what I have to do on this case to get the appropriate medical bills and medical records, but I'm going to call this law firm, and I'm going to get somebody high enough up to make sure that they're moving this thing along. And it sounds simple, but I think that, unless you have the mechanisms in place to make sure, because, everybody's busy and it's what you prioritize, but we have built into our system a 30-day tickler. So now some people are like, you know what, Chris, I don't have another appointment, or I have 3 months of PT, or an MRI, but it's not scheduled for 2 months. We will still tickle to reach out to them in 30 days. And if for no other reason, to say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What's new? And we just log those notes. And we feel that it's better if we're going to the client rather than they're chasing us down. They're angry. They haven't heard from us. And usually people often will have something of need, of importance to tell us anyway.
I'm so glad you reached out. Yeah.
So it's something that we've incorporated that we found to be very helpful.
And you have a great team. You've built a great team.
You cannot do it without a great team. Yeah. And we are lucky. We just got recognized at a Game Changer Summit in Atlanta. We were one of the finalists. We didn't win, but
that's still amazing
for Firm of the Year. And it is, if you go online and you look at our reviews, or we are, one of the things I'm always shocked by is that. So I my wife, my daughter, all the kids, they want to take 100 pictures before they post one, or, but so many of my clients are willing to do videos and take pictures of their experience and tell, other clients about, what it's like to work with us. And I'm always shocked by the amount of people willing to do that. And they're always mentioning somebody in the staff.
That's great.
And, it's a big shout out to everybody there. And the other thing that we're transitioning now, we just also opened up another branch called DiBella Law Motors, where we're really trying to serve the motorcycle and veteran community. Yeah. We're offering discounts to them, but it's often an underserved or overlooked. There's a lot of things specific to motorcycles and motorcycle rights that we're very in tune with. We've been working with them for years, and that's something that we've really tried to niche down and help that community. So we've been putting a lot of effort into that.
That's great. Well, we can help you spread the word about that. Maybe that'll be our next one. Awesome. Now we have 2 scheduled. So, is there anything else that you'd like the viewers and listeners to know before we wrap up?
Just that I'm so happy that you had me here today. This was fantastic, and I hope we do it again.
Awesome. We definitely will. Thank you all for tuning in to a great episode of Chamber Chat. There will be more. We'll see you soon. I just need to get out of here.